People don't choose you because you're the best. They choose you because they trust the experience you create. Now, most businesses don't grow because of better marketing. They grow because of better positioning, stronger systems, and a client experience that people end up talking about, really. So welcome back to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we explore how coaches, consultants, service-based professionals can grow their business through smarter strategy, systems that create consistent results. So I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Sheila Howell. She's a Central Ohio realtor who specializes in pricing strategy, marketing, and delivering a truly client-focused concierge-style experience, really, in a way. She helps busy professionals and families navigate buying and selling homes with clarity and confidence. So she combines data-driven pricing with systems that consistently deliver 5-star results. She's also the creator of the Epic Pricing Report, which is a framework designed to help sellers strategically position their homes to get the most out of it, right? Maximize value, stand out in the market. So this episode is all about building a 5-star brand through systems, strategy, and service, and how the right structure behind the scenes can drive better outcomes, stronger referrals, that's what you want, and long-term business growth. Now, it doesn't matter if you're not in real estate, yeah? This conversation is going to give you powerful outlook on how to create a business that people trust, recommend, and that actually come back to. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Sheila.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Karen. I love your podcast, always full of lots of great, helpful information on building profits.
Awesome. Thank you for that. This episode, like, you are no stranger to all of this, right? But let's hear a little bit of your backstory. What led you to focus so heavily on systems and client experience you're in an industry where a lot of people rely purely on hustle and volume, don't they?
Exactly. Yes. And you can't walk into a room without meeting multiple other real estate agents. There is a realtor in every room, multiple realtors in every room. So you really do need to find your own niche and how to stand apart and how you're going to survive. And there's a lot of agents that don't survive. And I think a big part of that is because they're not focused and they try to be the be all end all for everyone. And that's hard to sustain and to win at.
And that doesn't just go for realtors, right? That goes for so many business owners. And I get it. It comes from, and look, I'll put my hand up because I did it a while ago. I do believe it comes from a fear of loss, right?
Yes.
This FOMO, they're afraid to miss out on a sale here or there. But it's been proven that if you have that approach, you're not going to be as successful. Love what you said about really niching down. So how would you describe, what is your particular niche?
So for me, I did the same thing. I started out with, I want to help anyone buy or sell a home. Again, so that doesn't really work. But what I found is referrals are amazing. And I have a few veterans who are absolutely amazing. And the referrals, from treating them with total respect and being their advocate through the whole buying process and after, and being a true resource for them, has come so far. And with my veterans, they're so close knit that when one of them raises their hand and says, hey, I think I might be ready to buy a home, they're all ready to say, oh, we have the perfect agent for you. And what else from that is the person on the receiving end of getting the recommendation, they're likely to listen because they trust their friend. For me, that was a big part. And the first one really just stumbled into my lap. And then it built from that. And then the other part is I recently went through a pretty big life change. And so working through downsizing, and it's a lot. I've helped clients before downsize and in the whole process. And so being that it takes a special agent to be there and really understand what they're going through, I think that is tremendous. And it really does give them a sense of peace because there is a lot of angst around the whole process. And if it's an agent that is just like all about the transaction, it doesn't work.
And going back to talking about referrals, if you are trying to be for everybody and people are just focused on that transaction and they're not giving the client a 5-star experience, then they are missing out because they're in this short-term view of things. Whereas, I don't know, how much does it cost you to even get a client, your client acquisition cost? What is that? I don't know I can't remember the stats because I used to be the host of Icons of Real Estate. And is it every 7 years people will do their next buy, they're statistically wise? So if you're in this for the long term, it makes sense to look after your current client so that when they're ready to, whether they're upsizing or downsizing, depending on what part of their journey they are, they're going to come back to you. So that's a win-win. Rather than trying to go out and find new clients all the time. Why do you think there's so many realtors out there that aren't focusing on that side of it and are purely transactional?
It goes back to what you were talking about, that fear of missing out. And unless, like, many agents sell a lot of agents don't sell any homes a year. And the thought that, okay, so then you say, all right, 20% of agents sell one house, let's say. There's a lot of time to fill in to get 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. houses, or transactions in the mix. And so that fear of, okay, I'm sitting around and I don't see anything happening, that's what causes them to do the shotgun approach.
And so for you, you say you use systems, and I'm going to presume there's a referral system as part of that. Step 1 is focusing on your niche. So what are the other processes that you have in place that people really need to pay attention to if they want to scale their business?
So for me, it's about providing content. So I make sure that I write into my blog every week, and it's content that's relevant for them. So for my niche, not to say that I don't ever write a more general blog, but I make sure that I'm providing content that's relevant for new clients that are in my niche. So it's, how do you clean out photos? That's something that a lot of downsizers struggle with. So it's providing them content. So that's helping build the top of my funnel. So it's very regimented. It's once every week. It gets published. All the meta tags and all of that good stuff is there so that the search engines and AI can find me. And you also become more of an expert as you're starting to do as you do the research, so that when you do have someone call you, you can provide them really good information. It's also challenging myself to go out and meet with vendors that are peripheral to me, meeting with estate sale people, auction companies, junk haulers. All of those people are really important to the people that I'm interacting with. And then from the veterans, it's about recognizing them on all those special holidays and really appreciating them for their service.
So it's all about, so it sounds like once you've got your niche, rather than, because let's face it, when you see a lot of content from realtors, and I'm not dissing it, everybody has to start somewhere, but they do tend to put out the same content. Yeah. Just bought, just sold, open house. It's the same stuff. So it becomes, your brain just switches off to it. Whereas if it's specific, aimed at a target audience, and again, this doesn't just apply to realtors. This is anybody in business. Focus on your target audience. And so what I'm hearing from you is also keep learning. You know,
Yes.
if you've got to do your research for your blog that's aimed at your target audience, it's keeping you up there with the most up-to-date stuff. But what else? What would you say separates you apart from, and I know you coach other realtors so that they can have a successful business, but any other tips that are not the norm that
Yeah.
you can share with the audience to help them grow?
Yes. One of the things is really the time blocking, which goes across all industries. It's for me, it's locking down on my calendar every day. I have 30 minutes to make the call. And some days there's really not a call to make, but I fill that in with something else. But it's so easy to have a lead that is percolating, but you lose track of. So I have my CRM and I have the automated CRM touch points. But there's something to be said about picking up the phone and maybe you don't actually get a hold of them, but you leave a voicemail. That's going to resonate so much more than with just an email or an automated text. If you want to do a video to your client or the lead, that's even better. But that's hard for a lot of people to do. That to me, it's blocking your calendar, doing the things that you don't want to do. And for me, I do them early in the day because I'm a big proponent of eat the frog early.
Yeah,
And
I'm with
so,
you.
there's some calls that are just a little uncomfortable until you do it enough times to where it's okay, this is what I do. And you have that confidence to have that conversation or to leave the voicemail or the video because a lot of people look at themselves and they're like, oh, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. We all have those insecurities. You just got to push past them.
Absolutely. And I love that you're combining, like we do at the end of the day, if you want to scale your business, like you say, you're not going to remember everybody that you've been spoken. You need some kind of system in place so that you can follow up. Fortune is in the follow up. We've been told that. But combining that with the personal approach, I think what you just said there is super, super powerful because, yes, the automations are there to help us stay top of mind, but adding that, I don't know why everybody's afraid to actually pick up the phone, leave a
Exactly.
voicemail, or you can leave an audio note on their social media, or there's so many ways. And I'm with you with the video. I think that's really personalized. Loom is a great tool
Yes.
because when you text it, they can see it's a video. Because I know some people are a bit wary of clicking on links
Yes.
sometimes if it's a text to them, but they can see it's a video. And if you say, I've just sent you a personalized video, it's just you going, hey, Sheila, just circling back, blah, blah, blah. It's personalized. And
Yes.
because everybody else isn't doing it, guess what?
You stand out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I said at the beginning, when I introduced you, you have this epic pricing report. So, can you walk us through how that actually works and why positioning a property correctly from the start makes such a difference?
Yes. From a lot of agents, they just think about the comps. And it's more than that, in my opinion. It's about what's currently on the market, what's in what price points. So if you have a home that's, let's say, 500,000 and you're looking at listing at, let's say, 510, you look and there's 20 houses in the school district that are around that price point. Well, what are you going to do to stand apart from that competition? Maybe instead of 510, you list at 499 and then you get multiple offers. And then before you know it, you're 510 or above. So there's ways that you can do that. I also take a look at expired because that tells me, okay, did we have some at 4 or at 510 that expired? And you just have to look at all the data. I'm a data junkie. So that works really well for me. So pulling all kinds of data. And then you also have to think about, okay, how am I going to market this? Where are the buyers that are going to be interested in this house? So that's one of the things where you're like, okay, is it near a hospital? And you might want to do something special with the nurses or the doctors at the hospital because they know, or with the HR team because they're going to know, okay, is there someone, coming into the area or maybe it's they're ready to move up or downsize depending upon. So that's another piece, and really thinking about who is the potential buyer. And then, of course, you have to write the copy, because we all know that the buyers are out there on Zillow and realtor.com and all those other platforms, and they're looking for that. So in with AI, it's looking out there as well. So when they don't even have to necessarily be on one of those platforms. They could be in Chat GPT asking, show me a list of X number of homes in this price range in this school district. And so it's, how do you write the copy so it gets picked up?
And so for you, as you said earlier, a lot of people don't do very well in this industry.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what belief do they need to let go of if they want to move from chasing clients to actually building a business that does deliver that 5-star experience? I know you coach other realtors. So what do you think is the one thing or the biggest issue that's holding them back?
We talked a little bit about this earlier, and it really is trying to be the agent for all clients. And it just doesn't work that way. Sure, you might get lucky, but that's really, you're going to be exhausted. And we all have family. A lot of realtors or agents work a full-time job or a part-time job as well as being an agent. And so you think about that burnout, and how are you going to balance all of that and chase everything? Really honing in. And if you found something that worked well, do it better. Do more of it versus, okay, I see this over here and I want to chase that. No. Find what you're good at, do more of it, and do it better. How can you expand it?
I mean, from what you've shared, there's lots of things this isn't as easy as I think sometimes people think it is. So there's lots of things to think about. And a lot of people might think that level of service, it sounds amazing, but I don't have time to do all this stuff, or I don't have a big team. What would you say to someone who's trying to build this on their own?
You can't outsource customer service, like not in this industry. Yes, maybe in others, but referrals are so important. And if you don't make it important, it's really hard to keep sustaining, because to your point earlier, the cost for a lead in real estate is crazy. And to keep filling that funnel with brand new cold leads, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of your time and resources. So isn't it better if you spend that time and resources on taking care of your clients and giving them that 5-star service? Because they're going to give you those glowing reviews. You're going to get your referrals. And not only that, I find it a whole lot more enjoyable to do it that way than it is to rush through a transaction.
Yeah, so you got to love your work too. So for
Yeah.
you, you've built a strong personal brand, and consistent client experience has helped you generate referrals or opportunities without constantly marketing. What systems do you actually have in place for that? Is it just a CRM, or how else are you driving consistent referrals?
So it really, for me, it is my CRM and staying in touch with my clients. So it's a little bit different with real estate, right? Because if I do 15 transactions a year, it's not that hard to stay in touch with that number multiplied by the years. And I have to say, the first year for Pie Day, I made individual pies. I don't do that anymore.
No, I can imagine. Can't do that.
And there's still something that is very personal, staying in touch with them on the anniversary that they closed on their home. That's one way. And of course, all the holidays, it's fun to drop a little bag of goodies off for Halloween, especially the ones where I know that they have kids. But we all like some Reese's Pieces occasionally, right?
Look, Sheila, I don't know how many people out there are listening from Ohio, but it's not just that side of the business. You also coach other realtors. So if anybody's out there and they are struggling with this side of the business and they do need help, what should the listeners do next? How do they reach you?
Yeah, certainly email me at Sheila@realtorsheilahowell.com, or they could call me. And I would love to talk to them about the AMP program, which is really just about mentorship. We provide them with great tools and resources, but so much of it is the mentoring. Agents, they go through, they take the exam, they pass many times, but might take a couple times, but they pass the exam and now they have their license. And then it's now what? Like, it's amazing how many agents we walk through when it's, okay, I have a showing, my first showing, but what do I do? Like, they don't teach that. So helping them role play through that. And if they're local, we will often go with them. We host open houses so that we have a platform where we put out if there's an open house and people can sign up to go do the open house if the listing agent's busy. But it's really about just being there and helping them. And the weekly, a lot of programs don't have the one-on-one, but ours actually has a one-on-one program to where 30 minutes a week, you've got the founder, he's available for a call, a Zoom call. But really, it's all of our leaders that are available for any conversation around real estate. So we are all very passionate about it. We love what we do, and we love helping other agents be successful at it.
Fantastic. And look, this, as I said, this doesn't just apply to people in real estate. It really is a lesson in just business. And look, before we wrap up, I want to also tie this back to whatever business you're in, because what Sheila has shared today is really about positioning, finding your target audience, who is your specific niche, systems, and creating an experience that people trust, and then ultimately refer. And the same applies whether you're selling homes, whether you're coaching clients, or whether you're offering services. It doesn't matter. The question is, how clearly are you positioning your expertise so people immediately understand your value? And something that might help you with the initial thing, because at the end of the day, people buy from people they know and trust. And that, of course, relates to realtors too. And that is why I have created a free, I call it the Story Bank GPT. It's a custom trained chat GPT, and it will just help you uncover and organize the stories that demonstrate your expertise, build trust, and position you as the go-to in your space. Because just like pricing a home correctly, if you don't position yourself properly, you can be overlooked, and that no matter how good you are. So you can grab that completely free at podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. The clue is in the name. And also, if you are ready to take it further, I do have my 4-part mini course, the Podcast Profits Funnel. It is available there. It is just $5. And inside, I walk you through how to use podcast guesting and authority building to attract the right clients without having to constantly chase leads. So start with the Story Bank. That's a freebie. And if you want to go deeper, then go to the mini course and begin positioning your business in a way that just naturally attracts opportunities. So Sheila, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I haven't spoken to a realtor in a while since I left Icon, so I'll connect you guys too. And to the listeners, I'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're